Hello and welcome to the Drexel interview. I'm your host, Paula Morantz Cohen, and today our guest is Kenny Gamble, Grammy Award winner, record producer, and community developer. Kenny Gamble, welcome to the Drexel interview.
Thank you very much.
Kenny Gamble, along with your songwriting partner, Leon Huff, you created a signature sound, R&B sound, known as the Sound of Philadelphia, or the Philadelphia Sound. And I wonder if you could start by describing it as you understand it to us, that sound.
Well, the Philadelphia Sound, or the Sounds of Philadelphia, is a continuation, in my view, of a culture and a music that was here in Philadelphia for many, many years. And my partner and I, Leon Huff, we were able to brand it as the Sound of Philadelphia. It has always been a music industry in Philadelphia, such as Cameo Parkway with Chubby Checker, Swan Records with the Beatles and so forth, whatever. And my partner and I, we were able to gather together a new generation of producers and writers and musicians, and we branded the sound. It was similar to the Motown sound, so we said, well, we have a Sound of Philadelphia.
Okay, you say it's similar to the Motown sound, but how is it different?
Well, the Motown sound is, when I say similar, they branded it the Motown sound, and we did the same thing. From a musical viewpoint, Motown was pretty much the model in which we at Philadelphia International, we followed Motown. They had a tremendous record company. In fact, I think Motown is without a doubt the greatest record company that's ever been in the music industry, because of the way they created a competitive atmosphere for songwriters and producers. And we at Philly International, we created that same atmosphere, which lent towards excellence in the songs and the productions that we did, because it was a highly competitive atmosphere.
So the more competitive, the more excellent the result, obviously.
Yeah, the better it is. Yes.
About the sound itself, though, I mean, I guess I associate it with a sort of a lushness and a certain kind of orchestration. Would you say orchestral sound? Would you say that's true?
I think it was a little bit gospel.
Okay.
A little bit jazz, a little bit of blues, and classical in a sense, because of the arrangements.
Yeah.
And we had some wonderful musicians. In fact, the string players that we utilized were string players who were either retired or working at that present time for the Philadelphia Orchestra.
I had heard that.
So these were excellent musicians. They were thrilled to work with Huff and myself, because it was a release for them, and with the great musicians that played in our rhythm section. Ronnie Baker, Carl Chambers, Roland Chambers, Tom Bell, Lenny Pakula, Norman Harris, and Larry Washington, and Vince Montana. We had and Earl Young. We also and probably missing a few, Bobby Eli. All of these guys were fantastic musicians that we kind of grew up together, and they were able to advance themselves, not only from being musicians, but they also developed to be producers and also arrangers.
Okay.
And so
it was a real kind of synergy of the community and of different
I kind of call it like a miracle, because there's no way possible that any one person could put that kind of energy together. It's one of those unique moments in time that a group of people get together and actually create something spectacular. And there's been a few in the industry, like Motown. I mentioned Motown.
Yeah.
And then in Memphis, there was also a great gathering together of people, the Memphis Sound, they call it, stacks of old records. And then you had Chicago, and different cities have had their own musical identities. And we were fortunate enough to develop and create the Sound of Philadelphia here in the city of brotherly love.
Well, that's well put. That's very eloquent. Do you think that you and Leon Huff were somehow the spark? I mean, would you say that? I know that, I mean, I don't want you to be immodest about it, but it seems to me that that would be the case.
Well, as I said earlier, I think that we were a continuation.
Okay.
There was always a record industry in Philadelphia. And as young writers and producers, you know, we were struggling trying to get into the music industry. And once we were able to make a few hit records, and we had a lot of help from a lot of people, like Benny Crass from Crass Brothers was one of our partners at one time. And we were able to start out as independent producers, and we had an independent record company. And I think what we did that was a little bit different from anyone else is that we took the name of Philadelphia and branded it. We branded the music as the sound of Philadelphia.
And that was very important.
It was very important
sort of nurturing it?
Because we created a body of work. So now this work is considered a body of work that is known all over the world as the sound of Philadelphia. We were promoting Philadelphia. Philadelphia so much that the name of our company was Philadelphia International.
Right.
The name of one of our big hits with our orchestra, MFSB, was the Sound of Philadelphia. So, you know, we were promoting Philadelphia and promoting the city and the culture in the city along with the music.
That's very interesting, this whole branding idea, and it sounds like you were doing it before its time, in a sense, in that now it's become a common
That's true. Well, many people have followed the example, just like we followed the example of Motown.
Yeah.
There have been many other groups and cities of people who have followed what we did at Philadelphia International Records, which is an honor.
Right, but as you said, it would seem that you have to have this miraculous combination of forces sometimes. You could try and do it all you want, but if that coming together isn't
That's
there,
correct.
it doesn't happen. I wanted to talk a little bit about your songs. I mean, you have produced more than 3,000 songs, and over 170 of your songs and albums have gone gold or platinum. And you've won Grammys for songs like Me and Mrs. Jones, sung by Billy Paul, If You Don't Know Me By Now, sung by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. You have, I mean, Love Train, Backstabber, Money, 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 now very prevalent because of the Apprentice.
Yeah, which is
I
great.
know. I mean, that's an incredible thing because I was just speaking to somebody before who was saying that that song is so perfect for that show.
Yeah, we were very happy that they used that song as a theme song, and especially for Donald Trump. Every place that Donald Trump goes, they play it, you know, for the love of money, which is
terrific
perfect
for you.
Well, that's great. And it's great to keep the song alive.
Right.
It's
you like it associated with Donald Trump?
well, yeah, I think it's good because Donald Trump is an unusual person and
charismatic.
In fact, The Apprentice is one of my favorite shows because I believe that The Apprentice is not only just a TV show, but it's an educational show that teaches people the seriousness about business and how to get into business, how to stay in business, how to be successful, and so I'm very happy to be associated with Donald Trump.
Interesting, because you're both an entrepreneur and a song and a musician. So
That's correct.
I can see that. Tell me a little bit about some of these songs. I mean, can you tell me which songs perhaps you are most attached to? Which songs perhaps made it big that you didn't expect would or didn't that you thought would? The combination of the performer and the song and surprises that may have happened for you there. I mean, I wonder if you could address some of that.
Well, really, first of all, I love all the songs. Even the songs that didn't make it, I love them, you know, because they were good songs.
Is there something that makes a song that, I mean, though, that you can predict if a song is going to make it big?
I don't think you can predict when a song is going to be a hit. You only can go by what you like and what you hear. And really the public is the final judge to music. And I think the biggest thing that can happen for a writer is to at least get one song out. You get your first record out, and when you get your first hit, then you know kind of like what you felt like when you were writing that song.
Yeah.
You know what it felt like to produce that song, so you got to keep reproduce
Getting that
it.
feeling?
You got to get that feeling
Yeah.
again, because it's all about feelings. And I love all the songs. I mean, they are. I guess songs are like children. You know, they
Yeah.
all are very important. They're all
And
different.
they occupy different places in your affection.
That's correct. And they come at different times, and they mean different things.
Right. I want to hear a little bit about how your start in the business. I know we interviewed here Cal Redman, who I guess had some dealings with you early on and influence on you. And I wonder if you'd speak a little bit about those early days when Philadelphia International Records was getting started, and the sorts of challenges you faced, the sorts of triumphs and tribulations that probably occurred during that time.
Well, you mentioned Cal Redman. I've known Cal Redman. I think I was telling Lynn this a few minutes ago. I've known Cal Redman for over 40 years.
Wow.
I met Cal Redman when I was about 18 years old, about 17, 18 years old. I used to talk to him every night.
Really?
At the time I spoke to Cal Redman, he wrote a column for a magazine called Record World, and he was an independent promoter. And as I mentioned, Benny Crass was one of our partners in the early days when we had Gamble Records and XL Records. That's when we were first getting started with the Intruders. Cal Redman was also one of those partners in that label, and his position and job was doing promotion. And he was an excellent promotion man. He not only promoted the label, but he promoted Gamble and Huff. And we developed and still do have a wonderful friendship. He went on to be very successful in the publishing business with his Quarterback magazine. And the beginning days were very hard. I mean, when I met Cal Redman, he was, he lived in the Northeast. I had never even been to the Northeast, and I went over his house one time, and I had just started driving, and I really didn't know where I was going, and it just seemed like it took me forever to get to his house. And his wife was wonderful. He had a young son called Mitchell.
Who's now in the business too,
He's in business too, and his wife Lucille, who was a wonderful person. So, we've had a lot of support from a lot of different people, and Cal Redman was a good friend to radio, and the radio was the most important piece to promoting Philadelphia International and Gamble Huff. People like Georgie Woods and Jimmy Bishop and Jocko and Jerry Blavitt and Butterball and John Bandy. I mean, these were the disc jockeys at that particular time who were personalities within themselves. And generally, if they would play a record and tell their audience, hey, look, this record is a hit or whatever, it would create some stimulation in the community. And the industry was totally different than it is today.
Yeah. Are you nostalgic for that time at all?
Well, I think it was a good time, but I think today the industry is better.
Why is that?
Well, because technology is better.
Yeah.
And the distribution network, the marketplace is larger. And
you don't think it's harder now for a new artist to break in?
Well, it is harder. It's always going to be competitive, but it's very competitive now because the stakes are so big today. It costs so much to develop an artist today, number one. And it's not as independent as it used to be, like small entrepreneurs. Like when we were starting, we were like young entrepreneurs. It's a lot harder for young entrepreneurs to make it today because of the corporate, corporatization of the music industry. Is like major conglomerates that own the record companies today, and it's very, very hard. But then it's and even radio is not independent like it used to be. It is corporations that own most of these radio stations, whereas in the days of young days of Gamble and Huff, we would go and see Georgie Woods and ask him to play a record, or Jimmy Bishop. He could actually put that record on himself and play it. Today, you have to go through a corporate system where there might be one person that's programming maybe a couple hundred